G'day, Professor Joseph Drew here. I'm here to talk to you this time about what natural law is and what's it got to do with local government. The origins of natural law goes back to at least Aristotle, some people would say Plato, and it's based on the observation that people want good things from life. In fact, Aquinas much later formalised that as the first self-evident precept of natural law, which is that people pursue good and they shun things that they perceive to be evil. It's based on observation of the ontology of plural social forms, all the different types of associations that make up human life, starting with the most fundamental, which is the family. It's based on observation and recognition of human nature, this constant tension between the emotions and the intellect being the thing which sets us apart from animals. Humans uniquely can plan ahead, they can abstract, and they can reflect on the choices that they make. Of course, they can do all the things that animals can do too, just react, get emotional. But we can transcend our animal natures and do more and be better, what we refer to as perfecting the self. Now, a lot of different natural law traditions will have different goods, which are said to be the ultimate ends. But for my mind, I think Maimonides was most right on this. It's the perfection of the intellect. The intellect is what sets us apart from the animals. The intellect is the thing that you can never lose throughout your whole life. No one can rob you from it. A disease can't rob you of it. You can't give it away. And indeed, the intellect is the one thing, the only possible thing that could persist beyond our life when we die. The intellect could persist. So we should do everything to perfect what makes us uniquely human, this intellect. Key concepts in natural law philosophy, and I could spend hours and hours and hours. This is only a short introduction, or I'll make separate videos on other important topics. But key concepts are the idea of teleology, the idea that things have a purpose, an ultimate good, and that we should pursue that ultimate purpose of a thing. Practical reason. This is something that really sets natural law philosophy apart from other philosophical traditions. Practical reason is most simply defined as having good reasons for acting. And we can use something called the practical syllogism to work out what practical reason would arrive at. And universalism. I know this is also part of ethical formalism, but universalism is this idea that given our context and our situation, our existence, if we use practical reason and we've got full information, then whatever we decide is the right thing to do, what our reason leads us to believe to do, should also be right for everyone else in this instance. So we should universalize our judgments and our actions. Two key ideas that we must get straight are human dignity and the common good. Human dignity is a little different to what you hear used colloquially. Human dignity is the right of people to pursue their existential ends, be all that they can be given their circumstances, without undue interference. Now, it's important to realize that each one of us is on a different rung of the ladder, of the human ladder. We all start in a different spot, given our genetics, our parents, the wealth of our family that we're born into. Perhaps we're diseased from birth. But each one of us has a dignity because we are human. We are different to animals. We can reflect. We can plan. We can extrapolate and abstract. And because of that dignity, because we are so special, we all have the right to pursue our ends, given the existence that we have at the moment. And this is what I mean by existential in that context. The same way that Mesmer, Johannes Mesmer, the great natural law philosopher, used the word. Given our situation, we have the right to make the choices and pursue those perfections. unless there's a good reason for someone interfering. Maybe we're going to hurt ourselves, or maybe we're going to come into conflict of the right of someone else to pursue their existential ends. Now, the common good is also incredibly important, and particularly important for local government. The common good is a whole justification and source of legitimacy for local government. The common good is the help accruing to people as a result of their cooperation, which is more than the mere sum of parts. What do I mean here? There's so many things I can do by myself. I'm a farmer, I can grow my own food, I can make my own shelter. It'd be pretty dodgy. If you've seen my goat pens and chook pens, you know how bad it could be. But I could probably survive by myself. But I could never reach my perfections by myself. Without my dear wife, Betty, I couldn't have had children. I couldn't have raised children. There's a really good example of some perfections. And my children are the perfection of me. They're very, very important in my existence and my life. So there's a very good example of where I need cooperation. But we need cooperation in so many things. When I drive the kids down to school, I need cooperation of a lot of people. I need a road. I need a contiguous road network. And that wouldn't happen if we just left it up to each farmer to build a road if they felt like it or not, because some would and some wouldn't. So we do need cooperation. And because of that, because we are social animals, as Aristotle would say, then we need a way of fostering and preserving and ordering that cooperation so we're all working towards the same goal. And government is the supreme way of ordering and fostering and preserving the common good. Now, the common good is more than the mere sum of parts. It needs explaining too. Russell Hittinger had this idea, and it's a great idea. It sets a limit on outsourcing. It recognizes that when we produce something, we get more than the actual thing. There's a collaborative good. When I strive together with my son Samuel to raise animals, he wants to be a vet eventually, we've got a little cow, we're getting something more than raising this cow. We're getting familial bonds, we're getting friendship, we're getting shared experiences that we'll be able to talk about one day. And all those extra things mean that by cooperating, I get so much more than what I ever contributed to the project. I might only contribute some handling and some feeding to this cow, but I'm getting stronger bonds in our family and shared memories and all sorts of other good things. So the collaborative good sets a limit to how much we can outsource things in government. We actually need people to be striving towards these things. That's what makes the difference between a group of people living in the same location and an actual community. Now, the common good, that is the whole reason for government. It's also the whole reason for local councillors to seek out that common good, to know the common good, to articulate the common good and plan how the common good can be realised. In my forthcoming book, Saving Local Government through Springer, I go into some detail explaining how this should be done, and this is probably the most important thing for councillors to know, and probably the thing that's been most neglected in the scholarly literature, but also by higher tiers of governments and regulators and the legislation. So in summary, natural law is incredibly important to local government. It's the whole reason why we have local government. It explains what we have, and the concepts of natural law actually go towards producing some really important principles. One's called the principle of subsidiarity. I'll do a video on that later. Another one's called the principle of double effect, and I'll also do a video on that later. Those two principles together largely lay out how we should act to have a moral government, a government that achieves its purpose. And the teleological purpose of government is to help people to flourish. And I think we can all be agreed on that. We want our citizens to flourish. So thank you very much for listening to me. And I do ask you to look out for those later videos in due course. Thank you. Goodbye.